Hello, and welcome to Oikos Live, episode 40. What number is it, Jamie? 47, episode 47. Today I have a very special theme that I'm going to be staying with, but I'll also answer questions and also answer questions that might come in for our Q&A time. But for those of you that have joined me, thank you for joining me. And please just put your questions there. I'm going to attend to them just now. For now, you might have picked up what our theme is today. I hope you have, because here we have Zach. And I'm going to be doing some zebra-related theme today. Zebra, behind there, over there, and over there is some zebra boxes. Because last night when I was preparing for live streaming today, I was actually just praying for all of you. And I was asking the Lord what it is that I can share with you. And while I was praying about that and waiting and asking him, I just kept on getting this picture of Zach come to me. Now, you would have become familiar with Zach because he's at every one of our live streamings, our little mascot here. And I kept on getting the picture of Zach in my mind, and it became a bit of a distraction until I realized that I better pay attention to the distraction. So the moment I did that, I got some very clear direction regarding some things to share with you today. So I thought I'd start with that and just mention to you that if you're praying for something specific and you find you are feeling distracted by thinking of something other than what you were praying about, then maybe just pay attention to that distraction, because I've found my own personal journey that it happens a lot that way, whereby I'm a bit slow because I should catch on faster with thinking about the fact that the distraction was actually a prompt from the Lord to show me that that's what he was showing me that I needed to give attention to, instead of paying attention to what I was focusing on and what I was praying about. So the other thing I want to tell you about today is that I have a guest with me. Now, you can't see the guest because my guest is off camera over there. It happens to be my daughter's mother-in-law. She came today to join us here, and I'm very, very excited and happy to have a live guest, even though you're off camera. And that is Laura. She's sitting over there smiling at me.
Hi, Sonja.
Hello, Laura. There she is. I don't know, did you hear that? I think you can say hello to them again.
Hello, everybody.
Let's hope that came through, because Laura's over there and the microphone's over here. So I'm sure you would have heard that. We will find out afterwards. You know what? You might even have a question for Laura, because you know what we are here for. We're here to answer your questions, whatever they are. I was telling Laura earlier that I don't mind answering any question. Somebody can ask me what's my favorite color. I don't mind what the question is, because the point of Oikos Live is to be here engaging with you and answering any questions you might have. But I am thinking very specifically about the moms that are at home educating their children. And we are here to assist, support, encourage, help you if we can. And so if you want to ask Laura a question, you can. And then I will just see it here, and then I'll ask Laura, who's sitting over there, and then she'll answer it. That's fine, hey, Laura? She has agreed to this. I'm not just shocking her and surprising her at the last minute, although I did only ask you an hour ago. So she hasn't had much time to prepare, if anything. But there you go. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to see if there's anybody here that has asked anything, or anybody that I can welcome. There are some people there, so thank you for joining me. I can't see who they are at the moment. If you would like to say hello on the chat thing, should I do this pop the chat out story? I'm just going to pop the chat out over here, which might help me to see who has joined us. At the moment, I've just see that there are a few people that have joined our Oikos Live, but I don't see who they are at this time. Do you see that, Jamie? Am I missing something? No, okay. So while that is happening over there, I would like to jump into this zebra theme, because if you know, you may know and you may not know, that the zebra theme has been something that has always been a theme of Oikos. You know what I've just realized, Laura? Laura was showing me a question over there. Do you know, I can't read it. It's too far away.
I said, what's the meaning of the zebra theme?
Oh, Laura's just asked what's the meaning of the zebra theme, and I'm about to answer it. And she's busy thinking it, and I'm busy answering it. Anyway, it's not going to work with that. Unless you sit closer to me, then I'll be able to see the question. Okay, so the theme in Oikos has always been zebra, even though our actual color palette, what do you call it, branding, whatever, for Oikos is yellow, green, and red. That's always been the Oikos colors, you might notice from being on the website and so on. But so there's a little difference between what our colors are in Oikos and what our actual theme that we go with a lot is the zebra, for quite a few reasons. I'm going to tell you some of them. First of all, we live on a beautiful nature reserve, and so that we have zebras wandering around, and they munch our grass, and that's interesting. People found that fascinating. We have zebras eating our grass. I told somebody once we don't have lawnmowers, we have zebras, but we do really have lawnmowers as well. But anyway, we have zebras wandering around. So we will show you some pictures of that. After the live streaming, Jamie will drop some photos in of our zebras. So because of they just present all the time, it has become quite a theme for us in Oikos because we run moms retreats. And at the moms retreats, we give little gifts sometimes, well, not always actually. And so when our children were younger, they made these little zebra gift bags. And we would put a little gift in here for the moms. Are you going to switch to that other camera? There. Okay, Jamie switched to this close-up, so I'm going to show you some of the things while that camera is on. I'll just line them up here. So there's the zebra bag. And how did we do that? We just printed some zebra markings on a piece of A4 paper. Simple as that. Now what you can do with that is you can laminate it and use it as a placemat. You might notice that what my mug is on here is a placemat that's made out of fabric. So you could do that too. You could buy some fabric that is zebra printed and have the children make some little placemats. We also did these kinds of placemats whereby it's an actual scripture. You can put a scripture and the zebra theme and have that as a placemat, and each child can choose their own scripture, and you can create and design nice placemats for when you have a meal, and you can talk about the particular scripture. So those are just some ideas. I will carry on with more ideas as we go along. But to come back to the theme and why we've got these little craft things that we do is because the main meaning behind it is the black and the white, as in God is a God of no compromise. It's black and white, not grey. We don't go into the grey zone. We try not to. The grey zone takes us into danger, whereby things are murky and not as clear as they need to be, especially when it comes to the Lord, because His word is the same yesterday, today, and forevermore. There's no inconsistency there. It's clear, it's direct, and so it's black and white. That's my understanding of my journey with the Lord. And so we use this zebra theme, the black and white, all the time as a constant reminder to us here at Oikos and when we're sharing at moms retreats and so on, to encourage parents to stay in the path of the light and not go across to the darkness, and help their children not to, and definitely not go into the grey zone. You might know, I've got this picture of these zebras here. Can we do the close-up again? I want to point out to them that there's quite a bit of shading on zebras. Look at this little baby zebra here. And the fact that there's grey in between the black and white on an actual live zebra. It's not just as clear as this illustration of this printed piece of paper that I showed you. Here it's obvious, it's black and white, whereas on the actual zebra itself, you do have the shades of grey. And so the reason why I'm showing you all of this is just to say to you that what came to me when I was praying for you, for today's live streaming and the moms that would be watching this, is this very clear picture from the Lord of what He wants for us, how He wants to bless us in keeping us in the light and on the straight and narrow path of this white line, and not to go across into the darkness, and not to be tempted to slip into the grey zone, because the grey actually is taking us on a way from white into grey, and then we found ourselves in the darkness, and now it's much harder to get back from that. I shouldn't really say it's much harder, because in an instant you can be out of darkness and into the light. So the point being that I want to encourage you moms parents to do some zebra crafts of some kind. Have a zebra theme in your home maybe for a week or a few days or a month or more, whereby that zebra theme can be a constant reminder to you as a whole family to encourage one another not to go into the grey and not to end up in darkness, but to stay in the light, and use the zebra theme as that constant reminder. As I say, that's why it's been a theme here in Oikos. That's why Zach is always here as our little mascot. He goes with us. He's been all over the world, this little zebra mascot, as a constant reminder to us as to the fact that we must not compromise. We must stay on the path of the light, the path of light and not darkness. And so I'm not sure if this is going to be relevant to you with regard to the fact that doing crafts and doing creative things is going to help reinforce that lesson or be a constant reminder to you regarding your journey and your home education and the raising of your children. You might just find that it really, really does help you have something concrete to reference back to. We know the word is concrete. We know that this is the truth, and we know that you've got the word and you can always go there. But in the word, you're going to, if you're spending time in the word, you will discover that God is a God of no compromise, and there's black and white, and lukewarm and grey is not part of who he is. He is a God of black and white. And so back to some illustrations. We've got this little zebra, put him down there. We've got this little zebra candle. So you see, we've got quite a few. I collected all my zebra things. I even brought this, which isn't yet zebra, but this is just a wooden candlestick that when I was thinking about this theme and sharing with you, I thought you could maybe get a little wooden candlestick, painted white, and let the children do some black and white craft decoration painting on it. Over here is an actual candle that's been made with wax, a regular wax candle, where it has a black and white theme again, and this is getting really creative, and that's an actual zebra a candle. This is a wax candle. See, there is the wick, made with into a zebra to illustrate black and white again. And now I'm going to show you a little thing that our daughter made many years ago. She did this little drawing of this little zebra, and the zebra saying, "Welcome to our home." She put a little bubble for it to saying that. And this, we've got a whole stack of these because we printed them out and we laminated them. And so now when people come to our home, we put this on their pillow to say, "Welcome to our home," and then it says where we stay. And she just did this little bit of artwork. Now, I brought this here to show you this as well, to say that there's a lot of ideas of what you can do with this theme of black and white to bring it through into your lifestyle and into your living. Another one would be this bag. It's rather large, but I put it here to remind me to show you. These are really easy to make. We've done a video on how to make bags and the simplicity of making bags. And again, you could actually maybe just buy some zebra printed fabric, and you could make a placemat, or you could make a little bag with that. This is just a paper bag, but you could make cloth bags, and those could be gifts. Let me see what else. Here's a little coaster. Again, this was just printed zebra fabric, which we just cut into circles and a little edging around them with some binding. Okay, so what is the purpose and the point of all that? Oh no, sorry, distracting myself here. This as well. I'm going to show you my last thing is my teacup, my mug. You know what you can do? You can get plain mugs and you can have the children paint zebra stripes onto them. And then I think there's a place now, there's different places now where you can actually buy the raw pottery and then paint it and then go and have it fired or whatever they do to embed the painting onto that. And the other thought that I had while I was getting ready was fabric painting, because you don't necessarily have to buy zebra printed fabric. You could just get a plain fabric and have the children paint on it and then make bags or placemats, so on. All right. The next thing in my little theme of black and white was we've got this very precious little zebra box. And this is a theme, I think I've shared this on Learning Lifestyle series, which is also on the website. But this is a theme that has been a wonderful theme all the way through our learning lifestyle at home, our home education. I'm going to tell you what's inside this box. But before I do, I want to tell you something that I heard our daughter share with me a good few months ago, where she told, she didn't share this with me. I was visiting her home, and I saw on their coffee table a box with some questions in it. And I asked them, what is that? And she said, well, Mom, it's the questions, the conversation starters. And I was so amazed, because now she's a married woman and she's taken this theme that I'm going to tell you about into her own home. And she uses this idea in a different way to what we did when they were children. But she's applying it in her home and in her life now, in the season she's in, that fits and suits her lifestyle at the moment. And so just to share that with you, to say how being intentional about things like this actually end up bearing fruit in ways that you don't expect or imagine. So what's inside the box? Let me tell you what's inside the box. Inside the box we have scriptures. See, it's got a little zebra theme at the bottom of it again. There, scriptures. And also, I wonder if the camera will show this. Let me see if I'll just take them out and toss them here, because that'll be easier. Inside there are these little folded up pieces of paper. And on each little folded up pieces of paper is a question. And we used to take these out at dinner time. Okay, let me see. Okay, here's a question on this little piece of paper. It says, how can you be a blessing to someone today? So that might have been a good idea to bring that out at breakfast, because then you've got the whole day to think about being a blessing to somebody. But these were more to discuss, not to run and do the activity. Every one of these questions is just questions that would have come to my mind, or I would have got some ideas from the children while we were actually doing this activity. And these little questions are what Missy now calls in her own home conversation starters. I used to use them and put very specific questions in here when I knew that one of our children needed some specific help in a certain area. I would put that particular kind of question that related to the support they needed into the box. And I would mark it in a way that I knew what their question was, so that I would pick the question out. It would appear randomly, but it was actually intentional. See, parents can do that. All right, and now I'm going to read this one. What would your ideal vacation be? See, so that's just now a fun question to have at dinner time. And now the whole family can be talking about what would be the best holiday they can think of that they would like to go on. By doing that, you're getting to hear from your children what is in their hearts and what is interesting to them and what appeals to them, something that you might not otherwise have known had you not done this little activity. And if I go back to the more intentional ones, they would be very, very helpful, because it wouldn't be me addressing a problem with a particular individual in the family. It would be more just a general, here is a suggestion, let's talk about this. How can we bless somebody today? Let's think of ways that we can be a blessing. And then we would discuss that while we are having our meal. And then while we were discussing that, I would know as the parent that was very specifically important for a particular individual. Laura, you've got a question or a suggestion? All right. Laura's asking, how long should we do crafty activities around a specific theme for the point or principle to be learned? Good question. My answer to that question is you do the theme or the crafts around the theme for as long as it takes to see the fruit of the point you're trying to make. So in one instance, a child can just get it instantly. Oh, I got that, black and white, yes, I get it. And another one might not. They might take longer for you to be able to, as the parent, see that this child has understood this concept now, this theme, that we're talking about black and white. And I must tell you, I'm glad you asked that question, because I found that when we stayed on a theme, it really was helpful, because as a parent, because we could keep reverting back to the zebra theme. So if I saw a child moving across into the gray zone, let's say there was some unpleasant behavior, I would be able to say, now that would be considered grey, the grey zone now, because we know what it says in the Word. He tells us that we must be careful not to argue with one another. Do not argue with one another, actually. He doesn't just say be careful not to argue. He actually says, do not argue. And now you children are arguing, which means you're slipping into the grey zone. So let's get back into the light. And then we would go to the Word and we would do a study on that. We would go and find that specific scripture. That's easy enough. You go to the concordance at the back, or now you've got Google. And you can go and say, look up the word arguing, and you can find all the scriptures relating to arguing. And now you see what you're doing is you're talking about the zebra theme, and you're talking about getting back into the light and not going into darkness, and not having the consequence of falling into darkness, as in what's going to happen if we argue. And His Word tells us what will happen. You know, there will be strife in our home if we're arguing. So, you see, so now the point I'm emphasizing here is that the matter doesn't come so much about the individual. It becomes more about the theme you're talking about, the zebra theme. And you're having fun, actually. You're making bags, or you're making placemats, or you're doing artwork, or little welcome sounds for your home, whatever it is you're doing, or you're playing this game, this conversation game, whatever you want to call this game. It just happens to be in this zebra box. This zebra box has been around for, I don't know, 30 years, maybe more. And so it's the same box that we've always had. We didn't change the box. It always has been the zebra box, because it's about us, about the black and white theme. So what happened with us is we started with this black and white theme, and it has become like a standard theme in our household. So Laura was asking, how long do you stay with the theme? Well, in this instance, we've stayed with it our whole lives, okay? So, and we can't help but, because we've got zebras walking around, so it's a constant reminder to us, right? But it is a constant help as well in parenting to take a theme and to use that theme for directing behavior and training children in character. All right, Laura has another question. Do you use these themes to only teach moral lessons, or is there academic component to it? Good question again. Laura's got some nice good questions for me today. And there's some ladies here with other questions. Let's see. There's Kay, and there's Alison, and there's Em. Hello, ladies. Thanks for joining us. All right, I'm going to come back to that. And Alison from Port Elizabeth. That's nice to see somebody from Port Elizabeth. Thank you for joining us, Alison. I'm just going to answer Laura's question, and then I'll come here. Laura asked, is there some academic component to teaching, to staying with the theme? You know who I would love to answer that question is my mother, because she was so, how do I put it, so intentional and specific is what I wanted to say about crafts. And I had to ask her one day, why was craft such an important part of when you were raising us? Because it became part of me, because my mother gave that to me. And then it became part of the raising of our children, just because I always knew it to be so important. But I realized I didn't actually know why it was so important. It was just such a part of life. So I asked her one day this question, and then her answer was so amazing. I said, please send that to me in an email, because I want to now share that with everybody. And so she did. And it's actually one of the letters in her Letters from Granny-Oikos. We've got this little booklet that's such a gem. And it's got the letters from my mother. When she asked me, when people asked me a question, I would ask her that question. She'd give me the answer. I would ask her to put it in writing, and then I compiled this little booklet, because she wouldn't write the book. She said, no, she's not going to do that. So I put them all these letters together. And then I said to her, would you mind if we published it? And she said, oh, okay, all right then. And then Missy, our daughter, did all the lovely artwork for the cover. And now we've got Letters from Granny-Oikos. And she answered this question about the academic value, the question that Laura's asking about, is there an academic component in the crafts? And my mother answered the question in a way that is better than what I can answer it. But her answer is in that little booklet. But to summarize what she said is that there's a lot going on academically when you're doing a craft that you don't even realize. Let me give you some examples. We're going to do this craft. So now it's measured. You might notice that this isn't actually an A4 piece of paper. This here is an A4 piece of paper. And now if you're an American, and I think we might have some Americans there joining us today on live stream. Let me see. Is Annalie there? I know she's in Canada. Emma's in America. There we are. Hello, Em. Now Americans don't use A4 paper. They use what they call letter size. Is that right, Jamie? I think it's letter size. I think this page is a letter size and this page is A4. A4 is longer than letter and narrower. And so you might have picked up and guessed from that immediately now he has some academicnesses going on. Because if you're a graphic artist and you, like what our daughter is now she gets a hold of files from America and they are letter size, but our printers only print on A4 size, so she has to do some maths. So now, how did she get to understand and know all of that? Largely, initially, from doing crafts, from doing this kind of activity as a little child. So now as an adult, when she has to do the maths of it at a level that means that everything is laid out according to the specifications that they need to be for South African printers, she's now doing an academic steps, but in her mind, they're still just creativity. She's just still being creative. She's not necessarily feeling challenged by the academic element of it or overwhelmed or nervous or a negative emotion attached to the academics. So my mother's answer would have been that a lot of academic learning is happening. I don't know if there's such a word, academicness, is there? No, there's no such word. I just made that word up. A lot of academic learning is happening when you're doing crafts without realizing that it is. When you're baking, you're doing a craft as such. For example, you're going to make a marble cake, black and white zebra cake. Okay, you're making a marble cake. You're actually doing science, so that's academic. You can call it that. So I'm trying to think of other examples. Can you think of examples? I'm thinking of ideas, examples of how academics comes into crafts. And as I said, I'm not going to do such a good job of answering this as my mother did in her letters from Granny-oikos. She has a variety of different kind of learning children. They learn differently. And she had a couple of geniuses as well. When I say geniuses, I mean those academically gifted children. They were phenomenal, like straight A students. But that child and the child that had struggled learning did the same craft together. We all made candles. My mother put us on a candle making course. And that candle making course, this is a candle that I made when I was a child, because my mother taught me how to make this candle, because we were all making candles for about 3 months. That's what we were doing. We were making every kind of candle. We made candles that had like fluff on them. We beat the candle wax so it went all fluffy like snow. And we put it on the candle. It was quite amazing, actually. But it didn't matter whether you were struggling academically or gifted academically, either which way. We did the same craft and we all learned the same lessons and we were all learning the same, getting the same academic level of lessons from that craft. Okay, right, let's see now. Kay says that she listened to the podcast on humility and blessed her so much. We will be doing a Bible study on that. Fantastic. That is very good news. Thank you for sharing that, Kay. And Alison from Port Elizabeth, I've said hello to you there already. Thank you for being with us. And Emma's enjoying those ideas. Good. Did you do the theme and Konos? Did you do the theme and Konos at the same time? That's a good question. Did we do a theme? You know what, Em? Our Konos and themes did sort of blend together. So if we were doing a particular character trait, as you know, with Konos, it's all about training the character. So if we were focusing on a particular character trait and we were busy with the zebra theme for whatever reason, like what I've been sharing with you today, well, then we would build that into the character trait that we were emphasizing. So let me just put that, I mean, not the character trait we were emphasizing, the character trait that we were busy doing at the time. So let me put that into practical terms. So we're doing the zebra theme and we are doing, say, obedience with Konos as the character trait we're focusing on. And now the children are being disobedient for whatever reason. One of the children has been disobedient to something, an instruction given to them, and they disobey. then we would then use the theme to say, but remember the zebra theme. If you are being disobedient, you're falling into the grey zone, which is going to pull you into the black very quickly. So let's get back into the light. So there you would see how we would be doing konos. The focus would be the character trait of obedience, but we'd use the theme as an illustration to how to focus on obedience and staying in the light. So yes, they used to blend together, I would say. Annalie is there. Oh, and she said that her mom made candles with beaten wax to make them look like giant snowballs, and it was so pretty. Yeah, I remember, my mother also did, we sprinkled glitter on these white fluffy candles. Of course, they didn't feel fluffy. They were as hard as wax when they dried, but they looked fluffy and they were very, very, very pretty. I remember them so well. Now, I don't have a photo, I don't think, to show you that. And you know what? I don't actually have the candle either because they got quite grubby looking after some time. If you look at the top of this candle, it's got dust and dirt on it. So those white fluffy ones they were hard, but they looked fluffy. They got quite grubby looking, so they didn't stay. I don't know. Obviously, we couldn't wash them. Oh, Annalise says, yes, her mom also had glitter. She also put glitter on theirs. Do you know what's interesting, Annalise, is that you remember that now? Isn't that wonderful? You're remembering this moment of when you made candles with your mom, or when your mom made candles. I don't know, you're not saying you actually made them with her. But the fact that you have that memory, that's special. I think that's special. And so that is also what I want to encourage the moms with, is to make special memories with your children. Don't let their childhood fly by and spend too much time focused on things like seeing to all their learning has been done in this formal way, and you miss out on all the fun. You know that I'm here to remind you to have fun, to play with your children, to have peace in your home, to keep the joy. Because when you've got joy, you've got strength. When your joy is depleted, your strength is depleted. And you need strength to be a home educating mom. You need strength every day. And to have that joy, I've got a really good suggestion on how you can have joy. And that is about playing with your children and doing crafts with them. Maybe you don't feel like a very crafty person. But then again, my mother talks about that in her Letters from Granny-Oikos. If you've put that link there, Jamie, I think we've got an eBook on Letters from Granny-Oikos. I think it's about 30 Rand, which I think makes it about $1 for the Americans. So if you want to read the rest of Granny's suggestions about creativity and so on, it is in that book, Letters from Granny-Oikos, as an eBook, which I think is available there. Laura, do you have anything else that you wanted to ask? Laura's sitting very quietly.
Not right now, I think.
You're thinking, you're not right now, okay. Well, I'm going to have some tea. I hope you've all got your tea, because we have to have tea together. And I'm also hoping that anybody's got a question. I think I'm done with the zebra theme. I'm trying to see if there's something. Oh, I have remembered something else now, and that we made cushions. They are so easy to make. If you get your children to do some artwork, fabric painting or whatever on a cushion, and then it's so simple. You go and buy the cushion in it from somewhere, and you just, sew around the 4 edges, or 3 actually, and pop the cushion in and stitch it closed. I would love to show you how to do that. I'm going to grab this piece of fabric here. It's actually a tray cloth. I'm going to show you a quick way that we use to close the ends of a cushion. Jamie's put the close-up on. Laura, while Jamie's got the close-up camera on, may I ask you to please come and do this? Here we are. Here's the open end of the cushion. Just pretend you've sewn all the way around. All you do is you tuck the ends in like that, and then you put your 2 folded in edges and you stitch right on the very edge. See? Now what I've also done in the past is I've stitched here, and I've stitched all the way around the entire cushion like that, a little bit in from the end. So it ends up creating like a little tuck or an edging to your cushion. It's as simple as that. So if you want to get the children to make cushions with the zebra theme, that's also another idea. Let me see if I've missed any out.
I've got a question.
Oh, you got a question?
Do you find that the boys that they like these kinds of crafts as much as girls? Because when I listen, it sounds a little bit more what would be traditionally girls, if you're talking about sewing and paperwork and things
Oh,
like
right.
that.
Good question. And you know what? I should actually pop in a photo now if I could. I'm going to ask Jamie to pop in a photo after the fact, because he was sitting at the sewing machine last week making sound panels for our studio. Okay. So in my reference, there was no gender because I was the only girl of a family of all boys. So for me, my mother, the crafts we did, there was no gender, male or female. It was candle making. And as you say, it's a good question though, because they sound more towards the female because it's paper, but it didn't affect us when we were doing it. When I was going to do a craft with my children, and if I had a couple of girls and a couple of boys, it didn't make a difference. I didn't try and think, well, I'll do this craft because it's more boy related, or this craft. It was whatever we were doing, we were all doing it. But I did find, if you look on the mantelpiece up there, there's a wooden zebra. Now that was more geared towards something that the boys would do. My brother had I forget what it's called, a special knife that had a special name, and I can't remember its name. And he would take a chunk of wood like this, and he would sit while my mother was reading aloud, and he would carve it into the shape of a candle. I've got all kinds of different pieces of woodwork that he did. But while he was doing that, I could have been doing handwork, for example, a different needle point handwork. But that was read aloud time. That's another topic. That wasn't, when it came to a craft that we were all doing, then it didn't matter whether it was boy or girl. Okay, I'm just seeing now that my little smiley face here, who's also a theme of our live streamings, because we have to keep joy in place, you see. So we have our little smiley ball. He's in all of our videos, including Zach and smiley face. Always there. Okay. Let me see if anybody else has asked. We're having. Okay, Annalise asked a question. That's a good question. I'm not sure I want to read it aloud, though. Oh, Em said it's called whittling. That's exactly right. That's exactly what it was called. It was called as whittling knife. Thanks for that. I couldn't remember its name. But Annalie, this thing that you're saying that you're having a difficulty with, I will say it out loud because those ladies that are here with us will be seeing that. And that is Annalise talking about boredom. Now, the reason why I struggle to say that is because that was one of the forbiddens in our home. In fact, if any one of us, when we were growing up, said that we were bored, then we could be sure that my mother was going to set us to task to something very quickly. And so I adopted that too from her. And so then that's what our children got to know, that if they said that they were bored, well, it's, oh, you're bored, okay, well, then I've got something for you to do, was the automatic, immediate response. But I think what you're talking about here is something a little different because of grief. And so it does happen that you can slip into that place of, what is the word? You know, when people are demotivated, they don't have motivation because of grief. I don't know what the word, I don't know, there's a way to say that better, but it could be that, because I know that your question goes on here regarding grief. So I would say to you that it's a dangerous place to stay. Don't stay there. Don't stay in that place. Recognize it like, oops, okay, we've slipped into this. Think of this again. We've slipped into a bit of a gray zone here. And get out of that gray zone, even though it might be difficult. But I'm going to encourage you to be very intentional, take a little baby step and decide, okay, family, we're going to do this today. And do that, even if it's something that you can only just manage, like reading aloud to your children. And then when you're reading aloud to them, if they don't feel like doing anything because you are all going through a period of grief, will then just read aloud and just get through the day as best you can with reading the Word and reading their favorite novel, and try and encourage some kind of activity, because doing something is going to be more helpful to all of you than getting stuck in the grey zone of boredom and getting demotivated. So
children often feel very lost when they've lost somebody, and they feel very insecure, and one of the best ways of dealing with that is to keep up a routine. It grounds them.
Okay, so I don't know if you heard that, what Laura said, so I'm just going to try and repeat it. She was saying that when children have lost someone, they can feel very lost and insecure, and they need to feel less of those negative emotions. A routine is a good grounding. It helps them to have less of those negative emotions, right? So maybe, Annalie, you can just get some routine in place whereby tomorrow morning when you wake up, you decide this week's going to be pancake week. I don't think you call them pancakes there. What do they call them? Flapjacks or something? No. What are they? Crumpets. We call them crumpets. What do you call them? Those like thick.
What they call pancakes, we call crumpets.
What they call pancakes.
They call crepes.
They call crepes. You see, you've got different names for them.
Flapjacks as well.
Yeah.
Flapjacks, not in this country.
I learned them as flapjacks.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Okay, whatever they're called, whatever you want. Let's just decide that this week is some fun breakfast week thing for this week. And so now you're going to get up in the morning and you're going to make pancakes, crumpets, flapjacks, whatever they are, and you're going to have those for breakfast. Something different to what you used to have, just to break it up and bring something that's going to be fun, something that's going to keep the joy there, because it's really, really tough to be thinking about joy when you've had the loss that you've had. It's not easy. So that's why it's important to be intentional about it. And it's tough. I'm not saying that it's easy, but I'm just want to encourage you to do something about it and not be tempted just to fall into a place of boredom and demotivation. It's easy for me to say on the side and sit here and say that to you, but we've also been through grief, and I know, at one point I felt paralyzed with grief, and that wasn't a healthy place to be, because I didn't even want to get out of bed, to be honest. And what did I do about that? I needed people to come around me and help me, encourage me to get up and actually do something. And the doing really helps. Is that there's something very factual about the fact that when you do something, it actually helps get you out of that place. Even when you feel you can't do it yourself, then you need to tell the people around you, I need you to help me with this. Or the people around you need to see that actually we need to help this member of the family get out of that place of being grief-stricken to the point of being immobilized. I know that's where I was. And so if all I can do for you today, Annalie, is actually be the one that's encouraging you to do the thing. Don't wait to see how you're feeling about it, but I don't feel like doing it. That's okay. We know you don't feel like it. But put how you feel like it aside and just do it. So you almost have to force yourself and say, right, okay, we're going to do pancakes this week. But you don't feel like it. You don't feel like getting into bed and making pancakes. But make a decision about something that you're going to do and then just do it because it will help you. Right, Laura, you agree? Laura's sitting there nodding her head in agreement. So I just have to tell you that she comes from a background where she knows about this stuff from a more trained perspective. I know it from a living it. Have you lived it too? Obviously. Yes, too. Okay. So we're here to... Sorry?
It works.
It works. We're here to encourage you to do so that you don't have to struggle with this that you're struggling with. It'll help you get out of it. Oh, that is fantastic, Em. Why don't you do that again? Why don't you go back to that and just spend time again doing that, reading funny books and stories and doing things that make you smile? Oh, yay, they're going to make zebra pillows. Oh, you know what my mom did as well? I've just remembered this. She made pillowcases for us at one stage. And then it gave me the idea to make pillowcases, themed pillowcases for our own children when they were growing up. But my mother made actually zebra pillowcases at one stage, but they were only allowed to be our camping pillowcases. They were the pillowcases that went with our sleeping bags. And they were zebra themed. The fabric she had found was obviously zebra. And again, it became like the theme of our camping. But I made pillowcases for our children when there was something specific going on in their lives. And I would try and find fabric relating to that. And then I'd make a pillowcase for it. Because we took that into another whole level. Because I used to say to them, now, their pillowcases, in Jamie's instance, he was really into aviation at a stage, so found a pillow fabric with aeroplane print on it. And then I would say to him that when he goes to bed and when he goes to sleep, he must pray and he must ask the Lord to give him dreams that the Lord wants for him. And if they happen to include aviation, then he must pray about it, because if the Lord wants him on that journey, then he must show him in his dreams, because he says he'll give us dreams here in his word. Anyway, I could spend another whole lot of time on that particular topic, but it just reminded me now when I read pillows there that we made pillowcases that were theme-based, and they were to help support a specific direction or encourage a person or help them on their spiritual journey as well, and remind them that when they get into bed at night, they need to pray about that specific thing. And then I would, the pictures on their pillowcase, the theme on their pillowcase would remind them of that. So that's just another idea. Oh, Em said she made themed pillowcases too. Oh, goody. And that has given Annalie an idea. There we go, Annalie. You can go make pillowcases. That's fun. I hope you took your sewing machine out. Remember you saying you're going to take your sewing machine out? So maybe that's something you can be intentional about to help you get through the slump that you might be finding yourself in at the moment. All right. Let me have a look at the time, because I think it is nearing time for us to be ending our Oikos Live. Jamie, how's it been going? Has it been going all right? It's been going very good according to our connection. And we thank the Lord for that, because an hour before we went live streaming, there was no connection at all. It was non-existent. So we had to get hold of the internet provider and so on. So thank you to the internet provider for helping us to make this possible. And thank you specifically to the Lord for helping us to be able to do this, and so that I could share this zebra theme with you. I'm going to trust the Lord that there was something very significant in this zebra theme today, because I know that that is very particularly what he gave me to give to you today. And Annalie's gone to make pancakes. Isn't that fantastic? It was just worth it for that. Wow. And waffles. Oh, the one lady's making waffles, the other lady's making pancakes. I think we have to go make pancakes now. Yeah, Laura agrees. Let's go make pancakes. Oh, let's do that. Oh, hang on, it's breakfast time there. Oh, well done, Jamie. You just reminded me of that. Here I'm thinking it's it's the end of the afternoon for us here in South Africa. Well, ladies, in wherever you are, America, Canada, and other places, Port Elizabeth, Alison, I don't know if you're still there, and whoever else is there. I don't know how many people are there. But for those of you who have been chatting there, and for those of you who have joined me today, I thank you for joining me. May you have a wonderful, wonderful week. I hope you found some theme that works for your family, and that you have fun, and that you play with your children. Oh, on that, I must just tell you, I did a 4-part series, if you can call them that, on the podcast, the Oikos Family Podcast. Can you put a link for that, Jamie? It starts on Saturday at 3 o'clock on a Saturday. We put this podcast up, and we did a 4-part, part 1, 2, 3, 4, of playing with your children, and just ideas of how to actually get down on the floor and start playing with your children. And they are episodes 11, 12, 13, 14, which is part 1, 2, 3, and 4 of the Play with Your Children podcast. So I hope you will find those encouraging. Thank you to the lady who commented on how the Humility podcast has supported you and been an encouragement and got you into the Word to do a word study on that. I'm very, very thrilled to hear that. Thank you for telling me and sharing that with me. And thank you for being with me there today. I'm looking forward to seeing you at the next Oikos Live. Bye for now.